Ricky Thornton Jr. continued his dominance in the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series, capturing the win at Port Royal Speedway this Sunday evening. However, it was not without some drama. Mike Marlar really gave a challenge to him, and if not for a caution in the middle of the race, Marlar might have actually taken home the win. Marlar had made a pass, but a caution came out, reset the field, because I think in Lucas Oil it is leader plus 3, and unclear exactly how many cars had passed that start finish line, but obviously they reset it. Ricky Thornton Jr. was still the leader. Mike Marlar came back in second, but there was also some great racing in the back of the pack. But I will have to say we didn't get to see a lot of it because they did focus a lot on Marlar kind of stalking Ricky Thornton Jr. through much of the race, so we didn't get to see some of the I think better racing that might have been happening through the field, because we saw Devin Moran make a huge run. Rick Eckert, the defending Port Royal track champion, I think was your hard charger, moving up 15 spots. So there was a lot of racing happening farther in the back. There was a lot of racing happening further in the back. We just didn't get to see it because Flow Racing was focusing on Marlar stalking Ricky Thornton Jr. for much of the race. But let's get into this here. Before we do, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at John Trent Racing. So I thought there was a pretty ho-hum race, for a 40-lap feature, but about 14 laps into the race, Garrett Albertson was making some moves. They finally kind of showed us a little bit of what was happening outside of the top two, outside of Marlar stalking Ricky Thornton Jr. And we got to see some really fun racing here between Jimmy Owens, Garrett Albertson, and they just started getting into lap traffic. I think that's Corey Lawler there down at the bottom of the track there. Let's take a look at some of this fun racing here. This is with 27 laps to go, so about 13 laps into the race. You can see here, Owens on the top side. Garrett Albertson gets squeezed up a little bit because Lawler goes into the middle, but then he goes down low, and that opens up the middle for Albertson. He tries to thread the needle there, is not able to do it. Owens gets a good run off the top and would continue that, but Albertson then drives it really high into the turn 3 and 4, tries to get a run coming off of the top there. And then Owens kind of shut the door right there. So really fun, good racing here between those two. And they would be kind of like I thought the best part of the show that we got to see as far as racing was Albertson and Owens, because we'll get to them a little bit later here as well. With about 24 laps to go, Brandon Sheppard would bring out a caution, and then he would go in and do like a shock adjustment. And on the ensuing restart is where we would see Mike Marlar kind of really try and make a move here. We did get to see Garrett Albertson work on Jimmy Owens here as well. So this is the restart here with 24 to go after they went green flag following the Sheppard caution. So here's a look at this here. You can see Albertson dives down to the inside of Jimmy Owens, makes that move, slides up the track here. Looks like he's got the pass made. I'm not sure if Owens had beat him to the line there. It probably was so, but Albertson would have that pass made. Unfortunately, it would be pulled back because Corey Lawler here would be stopped at the bottom of the track, have some kind of engine issue. Let's actually take a listen to hear what happened. Unfortunately, we didn't even get to see what happened, but you'll see that Mike Marlar will drive past Lawler ahead of Ricky Thornton Jr. So let's take a look here.
Caution flag is out. That is going to be the 93 of Corey Lawler drawing the caution flag.
Mike Marlar had a run, didn't he, down the main straightaway. 17 in the books. Our Dave Warren power.
So there you go. They talked about Mike Marlar having that run. Unfortunately, we didn't actually get to see it during the broadcast, but you did see Marlar was ahead of Ricky Thornton Jr. there as they were coming past Lawler, who had kind of stopped at the end of turn 2. So it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see that, because it would have been pretty exciting to see. Instead, they focused in on Lawler's car stop there on turn 2. And then we had this was the ensuing restart where Albertson gets to repass Jimmy Owens. Like I said, Albertson and Owens was kind of the show for much of the race here when we weren't seeing Mike Marlar kind of stalk Ricky Thornton Jr. But I felt Ricky Thornton Jr. was able to gap him for most of it. Most of the race. He had a big lead. Marlar was able to bring it down until like less than a second. Then they got into lap traffic, and Ricky Thornton Jr. was able to kind of maneuver through the lap traffic, and they were really kind of just staying maybe half a corner. He was staying half a corner ahead of Mike Marlar for much of it. But here's the restart where we get to see Garrett Albertson make a move on Jimmy Owens. Again, this is the third time he's had to make a move on Jimmy Owens here. So here they go. Albertson just kind of ripping the top here. Owens doesn't get up high enough, a little bit too late, and Albertson just blows past him, and JD follows on the bottom, and Jimmy Owens would fade there to fifth. So Albertson finally got around Jimmy Owens. Took him a couple of restarts there, but he was finally able to get around him. And then we'd actually have a pretty decent race here. Didn't really get to see it. Didn't get to see kind of JD hunting down Albertson, kind of setting this up. And then he did. He really closed on him here, coming down the backstretch here, and then going down into 3 and 4. And I don't know if Albertson knew JD was there, but he kind of shuts the door there a little bit. JD gets, I don't know if he gets tight or loose there, but clearly has to chase the car up the track, loses a ton of ground there, and he never would really recover from that. Albertson obviously would pull away there, and JD fell into the clutches of Max Blair. With 12 to go, we actually did see, or I guess this is 13 to go here, we did see Marlar really kind of start putting on the pressure with Ricky Thornton Jr. At least it looks like Ricky Thornton Jr. was feeling the pressure. Maybe he's seeing his signal guy telling him that Marlar was coming. And we kind of saw this here when he really pulled a half slide job, I guess, because he had to pull out of it because he did complete it. So he wouldn't run into the 119 here. You can see he's really pushing it there. Was unable to clear him. 119 gets a good run on the top. Ricky Thornton Jr. had to back out of it, and he's feeling that heat. You can see Marlar's right there. Like I said, about I guess half a corner is probably a little too much. I mean, you can see there was like 4 or 5 car lengths right there that Ricky Thornton Jr. was kind of gapping him. But you can see that he was feeling the heat from Mike Marlar, trying to get around those lap cars and really trying to throw it in there because he knew Marlar was coming. With 6 to go, Greg Satterley would have a flat tire, and that would kind of give us a 6-lap shootout. And no one really had anything for Ricky Thornton Jr. He would come home with the win. There was a nice little pass that Devin Moran made with 3 to go to get into the top 5 on Max Blair. And again, I think that's kind of an issue there with Flow Racing. We didn't get to really see Devin Moran. We didn't get to see... who else was it here that I mentioned earlier? The names escape me. Rick Eckert kind of moved through the field. You can see JD moved up 8 spots. Devin Moran moved up 8 spots. Carson Ferguson moved up 8 spots. Rick Eckert moved up 15. So you clearly see that there was a lot of racing happening in the middle towards the rear of the field where these guys were making a lot of moves. We just didn't get to see it, and that's unfortunate. So I think that this race was actually a lot better than what we saw on Flow Racing if you were there in person, because you were able to kind of follow a lot of these races that were happening that we didn't actually get to see on the track. But I did want to point out here, this is Ricky Thornton Jr.'s post-race, and he actually thanks Corey Lawler for bringing out the caution because he does not think that he would have won the race if it had stayed green and Marlar had made that pass on him in that in the front stretch there. Let's take a listen.
I felt like our stuff was really good there. I was trying to play a little safer in 1 and 2, and I think that let Mikey get that much closer to me, and then he drove by me, and luckily the yellow came out. I think he probably would have won. So I got to thank whoever caused that yellow really for putting me back out front. And I don't know, I started getting a little treacherous there around the top, but I figure if you're gonna win it, you had to be up there. So I got a little bit of body damage, but that's all right. Got to thank Hooker Truck and Bigger still.
So there you go. Obviously, Ricky Thornton Jr. thanking Corey Lawler for bringing that caution out and admitting that Mike Marlar probably would have won if that caution did not come out, because he had a huge run going down the front stretch there and did indeed pass Ricky Thornton Jr., it looks like. But because they did not have leader +3, the lap did not count, and they reset the field back with Ricky Thornton Jr. In the lead. So congratulations to Ricky Thornton Jr. He does look pretty untouchable right now. Really on fire. He led every single lap in this kind of Mid-Atlantic Northeast swing that they've made here. He led every lap at Georgetown. He led every lap here at Port Royal. He's really putting together the entire night. He's qualified qualifying really well. He's dominating in his heat races, and he's dominating in the feature. And it's going to be hard to beat him moving forward. He's showing that last year was not a fluke, and he's here, and he means business. And I think he's telling us all right now he is the favorite to win the championship moving forward. And I think it's going to be really hard to beat him the way he's racing. But Mike Marlar is if he can get consistent too, I think Marlar will be a threat. One of the things I felt like that Marlar has been lacking has been putting together an entire night. He's had speed. He's done really well in the features. He's usually one of your hard chargers moving through the field, but his issue is that he's qualifying terribly, and that puts him back in the heat race. And he's just kind of mired back in the middle of the field, and it really takes him a lot of time to get through the field. And by the time he's got through the field, he runs out of time, and he's not there to make a challenge for the lead because the race is already over. So if he can really kind of improve on the qualifying, improve on his heat race performance like he did today, I think he will be a threat to get into that top 4. I think he's looking outside right now. He might be potentially right there on the bubble with Hudson O'Neal. We'll have to see what the points look like after tonight, but that race for the top 4 is kind of heating up there with if Marlar can get hot. And I think he can. He's got the equipment. We know we've seen the speed all year long. We just haven't seen him putting together consistent performances all year long. But if he does, he better look out. He's going to be a threat to Ricky Thornton Jr. I think. I really did like what I saw from Jonathan Davenport. We didn't really get to see much from him either. Obviously, a little bit there with mixing it up with Garrett Alberson. But again, he moved through the field, moved up 8 spots, started in 12th, finished in 4th. Really solid night for JD. I think he performs really well on kind of these bigger tracks. Those are kind of his bread and butter, I feel like. And he showed it here tonight, moving up through the field there. And then Devin Moran. I think Devin Moran is obviously struggled, in the qualifying heat race. So had to move up through the field. And if he can nail a night, he's going to be a threat too. He's been hot early on this year, so look for him to continue his success that he had last year and being a challenge for the championship 4 as well. One thing of note here, Tim McCready fell back 3 spots, finished in 12th. Obviously, still working through some stuff, transitioning to Rocket 1. Hopefully they get that thing cranking and really get up there. We know that car is top equipment. We know Tim McCready is a top driver. So obviously there's a learning curve there, jumping over to the Rocket 1 and figuring everything out. But I think it's just going to take some time. Same with Hudson O'Neal. Where did he finish here? Hudson O'Neal faded back to 19th, started 6th, dropped 13 spots. He knows that is an issue that he's had. The car obviously has speed. He's doing well in the beginning of the night. He's qualifying well. He's doing decent in the heat races, but he just doesn't have the speed when it comes to the feature. He did do an interview before the feature saying that they threw everything in the kitchen sink at it tonight. So obviously that did not turn out well, but obviously that they know that is a problem. They're going to continue to work on that Longhorn. Again, similar to McCready, he's jumping into a Longhorn from a Rocket. So there is going to be a learning curve there, I think. And then also this is a brand new team. It's his team. So they got to get all the kind of kinks worked out, brand new car as well. So I expect him to continue to improve, but he is showing speed with qualifying and the heat race performance that he's been putting on early in the races. But let's go through the rest of the lineup here, or the rest of the finishing order here. Ricky Thornton Jr. took home the checker flag. Mike Marlar in 2nd. Garrett Alberson rounds out your podium, finishing in 3rd. Jonathan Davenport finishes in 4th. Devin Moran in 5th. Max Blair in 6th. Mason Ziegler in 7th. Jimmy Owens dropped back to 8th. Just didn't have it. Was kind of fading there about midway through the race. There is where he was starting to get past. We were like 23 to go, so just around halfway. Tyler Erb finished in 9th. Carson Ferguson finished in 10th. Again, another guy moved up 8 spots, so clearly moving through the field there, and that we just didn't get to see. Rick Eckert finished 11th, up 15. Tim McCready dropped 3, finishing 12th. Drake Troutman moved up 3, finishing 13th. Nick Hoffman finishing in 14th. Ross Robinson in 15th. Dalton Wilson, I don't know what happened to him. Dropped 11 spots, finishing in 16th. It's like, again, I don't even know what happened to Dalton Wilson. He dropped 11 spots again, and it's something that I would like to see on the flow, a little bit more coverage on that, and something we probably would have seen if you were there at the race. And again, it goes back to my point that if you're at the race, it was probably a lot better than what we got to see with the flow coverage. And don't get me wrong, I love flow, right? But I think they could have done a little bit better job here at Port Royal. Brandon Sheppard obviously was having issues with the car, made that shock adjustment, dropped back seven positions, finished in 17th. Boom Briggs in 18th, Hudson O'Neal in 19th, Greg Satterley in 20th, Justin Weaver 21st, Ryan Burnhazel in 22nd, Brendan Smith in 23rd, Clay Harris in 24th, Max McLaughlin 25th, and then Corey Lawler in 26th. So that rounds out your field for the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series at Port Royal. Let me know what you guys made of this race. Let me know in the comments below.